Mexico's Supreme Court of Justice ruled in favor of allowing girls and teenagers to terminate a pregnancy without consent from their parents or guardians. After Prime Minister Imran Khan led tens of thousands to Pakistan's capital Islamabad to protest against the ruling coalition and demand French elections after he was removed from office through a non-confidence vote. Russian and Chinese governments advocate opening corridors for grain exports from Ukraine amid rising prices on international markets. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the Telesur Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. On Tuesday in Mexico, the Supreme Court of Justice has ruled in favor of allowing girls and adolescents to terminate a pregnancy without consent from their parents or guardians. Thus, Mexico's Supreme Court of Justice declares official Norm 46 as valid. This regulation, in force since 2019, guarantees access to abortion in all public and private health care facilities on the account of rape. The states of Baja California and Aguascalientes had previously filed appeals against a government regulation that allows minors between the ages of 12 and 17 to terminate a pregnancy without parental authorization, but the appeals were rejected. After the decision was made official, Supreme Court President Arturo Saldívar argued that the decision was made taking into account the many shades of rape and its frequent occurrence within families.
We cannot lose sight of the fact that Mexico ranks first in child abuse among the member countries of the OECD. 90% of these violations occur within the home and family environment. Then, subjecting the decision of girls and adolescents to parental consent could imply, in many cases, the consent of their own aggressors. The uncontested law only recognizes the right of rape victims to make autonomous decisions regarding their body, health, and life project in light of their progressive autonomy.
With positive results, it started the first day of the Cuba 2.2 Food Fair in Havana, where more than 160 companies are participating to promote national production. The fair also aims to promote the substitution of imports and the increase of exports, which is why the presence at the Pavexpo Fairgrounds of representatives of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, as well as non-agricultural cooperatives and self-employed workers, is of fundamental relevance. The items produced in the different territories have been positive and highly valued, as they are considered as a great contribution to the purposes of local development and food security. The Minister for the Food Industry, Manuel Santiago Sobrino, described the event as a good start and highlighted the potential of the new economic actors.
¿Para qué tipo de industria?
Sí, para todo lo que es la industria de los jugos.
Esta feria constituye otra.
We are not
The event was also attended by representatives of a sector with high potential when speaking to contribution to local development and food security.
We're not trying to import anything. We're trying to limit what is imported and to use national resources, which is what we're being asked to.
Magistrates of the National Electoral Council and the National Registrar in Colombia have confirmed that there won't be international audit of the presidential election software. The decision was reached after a meeting of more than 3 hours between the two electoral entities. Magistrate Luis Guillermo Perez assured that the decision not to conduct an international audit will not affect next Sunday's presidential elections. The international audit had been requested by the parties and the National Electoral Council itself. The decision not to have an audit was taken 5 days before the presidential elections, which will be held on May 29th. In Colombia, in the final stretch of the presidential elections, Interior Minister Daniel Palacios has announced the closing of all borders, among other measures, to guarantee security on Election Day. There are only a few days left for the elections to be held next Sunday, May 29th in Colombia. However, Colombian citizens abroad started voting since Tuesday. For this reason, the national government announced the closure of river, land, and air borders starting this Saturday, May 28th at 1800 local time, and until Monday, May 30th at 6 a.m. local time. Still, the border with Venezuela will remain open for all those Colombians who come next Sunday may not have voted yet, provided they be properly registered at the border voting stations.
We have ordered the closing of land and river borders as of 6 p.m. Saturday until 6 a.m. Monday. Obviously, Colombian citizens who are duly registered in border voting stations are exempted from this measure and may enter Colombian territory on that day. It has been arranged with Colombian Immigration and with the National Civil Registry Office that these citizens may be allowed to enter the country to exercise their right to vote.
We are taking a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. In the United States, at least 23 people died in the new school massacre that occurred on Tuesday in Texas at the hands of a student. Texas Department of Public Safety Sergeant Eric Stada said the shooter, identified as Salvador Ramos, also shot his grandmother before crashing into a vehicle near the school grounds. The student then abandoned the car and carried out a massacre inside Robb Elementary School located in the city of Uvalde, where he took the lives of 19 students, 2 adults, and left dozens wounded by using a rifle. In this context, after a long confrontation with the local police, the perpetrator was killed at the scene. So far, the police forces do not know what caused Ramos to carry out the murders. The U.S. president said to be fed up and calls for confronting arms lobbies.
Why are we willing to live with this carnage? Why do we keep letting this happen? Where in God's name is our backbone to have the courage to deal with it and stand up to the lobbies? It's time to turn this pain into action for every parent, for every citizen in this country. We have to make it clear to every elected official in this country, it's time to act.
In the same context, Chris Murphy, Democratic senator from the state of Connecticut, called for unity in the Senate and concrete action to prevent further violence at schools.
I'm here on this floor to beg, to literally get down on my hands and knees and beg my colleagues. Find a path forward here. Work with us to find a way to pass laws that make this less likely. I understand my Republican colleagues will not agree to everything that I may support, but there is a common denominator that we can find.
The world is shaken today by the tragedy in the United States. Many people have come out to protest and demand that this situation is resolved.
My heart aches for the massacre at the primary school in Texas. I prayed for the children, for the adults killed in this massacre, and for their families. It is time to say enough to indiscriminate arms trafficking.
More than 100 activists stood to black oil giant Total Energy's annual general meeting in Central Paris on Wednesday to protest the firm's climate policies. Greenpeace, Friends of the Earth, and Alternativa protesters handcuffed themselves to each other and impeded shareholders access to the building, claiming that Total Energies is not doing enough to fight climate change. Activists unfurled a 5 meters long banner saying "No retreat, no General Assembly," a reference to the energy firm's presence in Russia, where it runs liquefied gas extraction projects. The meeting at the South Private Concert Hall in Central Paris was eventually declared open by Total Energy's chief executive Patrick Pouyanné, but with the venue almost empty, as so few shareholders have been able to enter. Russian and Chinese government advocate opening corridors for grain exports from Ukraine amid rising prices on international markets. Moscow and Beijing urge Kiev to create a grain corridor for grain exports, which they say would be beneficial amid the current difficult food situation. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi proposed implementing these measures amid growing grain shortages from Russia and Ukraine, which are exacerbating food problems in the regions that benefit from this production. Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Andrei Rudenko also called on the Ukrainian government to deactivate mines in all of the country ports in order to resume the export of food by sea and stressed the importance of humanitarian corridors to supply markets. The Russian government facilitates citizenship for people from the Zaporizhia and Kherson regions of Ukraine, following a decree signed by Russian President Vladimir Putin. Residents of the Zaporizhia and Kherson Oblast are considered under the same status as residents of the Donetsk People's Republic and the People's Republic of Lugansk, and can apply for Russian citizenship under a simplified procedure. At present, in the Zaporizhia and Kherson region, the formation of civil-military administration has begun, and Russian radio and television are broadcast, while the Ukrainian authorities claim that the population has started to use the ruble as payment and are planning to hold a referendum on joining Russia at the end of the year. We're taking a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. Auster Prime Minister Imran Khan leads tens of thousands to Pakistan's capital Islamabad to protest against the ruling coalition and demand fresh elections after he was removed from office through a non-confidence vote, a move Khan has said on different occasions was orchestrated by Washington. Now, to go deeper on the matter, we have with us international analyst Rahim Volkov. Rahim, welcome to From the South.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, it's always our pleasure. Let's get with the first question. We were saying that the former Prime Minister Khan has accused Washington of being involved in his ouster. In your opinion, what reasons would the U.S. have to do this, and are there other examples in Pakistan previously and in the region of U.S. interference?
Thank you so much for having me again. This was a tense situation. This is not the first time the Americans have interfered in our politics, but this time this was too much. They have written an open letter and sent us an open warning to the elected prime minister, and they said if Imran Khan remained in power, then Pakistan would face a lot of consequences in terms of economics and in terms of politics and in terms of diplomacy. So this was an open threat, not from a simple man from a normal man. It was from the U.S. representative, foreign secretary for the South and Central Asia, David Liu, who openly threatened our ambassador in America and who wrote this letter by keeping the old record of his conversation with David Liu and sent it to Prime Minister. And during his March 27 speech, Imran Khan openly weaved that letter and told his supporters the Americans have did this and they bowed this whole vote of no confidence against me in order to overthrow me because they don't like me. Because I tilted towards Russia in order to think about the better future for the Pakistan, because I wanted to buy the cheap oil from Russia and I've already struck the deal, and the Americans didn't like it because they always want us in their camp. But this is not in the best interest of Pakistan. This is what Americans didn't like, and they punished Imran Khan. And they brought this whole drama of vote of no confidence by uniting the all opposition parties against Khan in the parliament. And finally, on April 12th, he was ousted from his office.
So, Rahim, what can we expect from today's rally? What changes could it bring about?
Yeah, this was an important day. Everybody was waiting for this, what Imran Khan will do, because after his ouster, he held a series of rallies across small and major cities of Pakistan, where he told his supporters to wait for his call to march towards the capital. And this was the day. 2 days ago on Sunday, Imran Khan came to the media, took the press, he held a press conference along with his leaders and told his public and his supporters to march towards Islamabad on May 25. But what happened, unfortunately, the opposition party, especially the ruling coalition, they started stopping, putting the barriers in order to derail the whole rally towards the rally and the whole caravans of the Khan supporters towards Islamabad. And this has been seen in Lahore, like the police was very active and they've arrested various leaders, key leaders of the PTI, the Imran Khan's supporters, in order to harass them and threaten them not to march towards Islamabad. But unfortunately, the establishment and other stuff like or other powerful sectors which are very important for in the politics of Pakistan, they have remained silent over all this. And there was a complete media blockage. There was a complete covering this whole situation, what was going on. Only ARY, the only channel that was covering this all. But what happened? Imran Khan made it. Imran Khan
Rahim,
in Islamabad, but there are other barriers, like people from Lahore, because of the blockade and the police force, because the local government has regularized the police force and they're not letting them to march to Islamabad. But it seems that like by tomorrow, the situation will become clear, like all the people will reach Islamabad and it's going to be a huge surprise for the whole nation. And Imran Khan declared May 25 as the turning point for the politics of Pakistan in the years to come.
As ousted Prime Minister Khan calls for his supporters to join him on his rally, he seems to be playing what seems to be his last political card to regain control. Is there any other resource for him if this move fails?
No, this move cannot fail because Imran Khan is much popular than he was before. Like this was the biggest suicide attempt like the opposition has made. Like there was only 1.5 years left, but the opposition became like too much active and they tried to overthrow him and they overthrew him. Like they remained successful. But after his ouster, like the people got emotional, especially supporters, and his popularity rankings remained too high. According to this report conducted by the Arab News Media Network, Imran Khan is much more popular than he was before. Like if the new fresh elections were held, he would come to the parliament with absolute majority. And this is what is itching the opposition parties because the ruling coalition is very weak. There are 3 major parties which have like joined together and to form this particular new ruling coalition government. And the PMLN is very weak. Like they cannot take every decision by their own. They have to take the support of other parties. But on major key issues, the other parties do not support the current coalition government. So the other coalition government is also facing the problems from inside. So it seems that like Imran Khan, whether the march will fail or will it will succeed, but it seems that the other elections will help in the country because the establishment is very serious about it. The establishment doesn't want any threat to the Pakistani security, and the establishment is very serious about it. So it seems that like from tomorrow, like there would be a new news like from the ruling government or from the powerful sectors of the country. Because Imran Khan said if they didn't give the exact time and date of the elections, he will not leave Islamabad. So the march is going to get longer. So Pakistan cannot afford this because the situation is very serious in the economic side because the economy has gone down and the dollar has gone up. So the people are suffering a lot. So I don't think so the coalition government will take that risk. It seems that the early election will help. This is my opinion as an expert.
Okay, Rahim, we're going to keep covering this situation as it develops. Thank you very much for your time here in Telesur. Well, we have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For Telesur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.